First stop off the cruise ship was Kom Ombo, a temple for the crocodile god Sobek. Although the area doesn't have any live crocodiles anymore, the temple has 3 mummified ones. The following are just a few pictures from this temple. The next stop was Edfu, Temple of Horus, and Horus is known as the god of protection, who sometimes takes the form of a hawk. To get to the temple, we had to take horse carriages. An interesting thing about this temple is that it houses a Nilometer. It's a series of steps that lead to the water, and depending on the water level, it would also predict crop success and thereby how much taxes the people of Egypt would have to pay that year. Here's a few final shots of the Temple of Edfu. That afternoon we visited Luxor Temple, and this temple was huge. One interesting note about Luxor Temple is that it became buried under sand and a mosque was built on top of it. And then later Christians came along, and so you'll see some paintings that have a definite Christian theme. So it may be one of the only places in the world where you can see iconic symbols of Christian, Muslim, and Egyptian deities. In the top third of this picture, you'll see a door, which was the original entrance to the mosque. This will give you an idea of just how much of Luxor Temple was underground, covered by sand. Another trademark of the Luxor Temple is the Avenue of the Sphinx, which was striking at sunset. Let's take a look at some more of Luxor Temple. The next morning we went to the Valley of the Kings, which is the spot where the pharaohs were buried. We did actually even get into King Tut's final resting spot, and also a couple of other tombs. Although all of his artifacts have been taken to the National Museum, his mummified body was returned here, so we actually got to see King Tut. The tombs were designed to resemble the underworld, and so in order to visit them, we had to go down these long corridors. And the antechambers were usually filled with these beautiful, bright colored hieroglyphics that had been preserved because of the very little light and, of course, no sunlight that reaches them. The stories on the walls and the ceilings are meant to help the king in the afterlife. Historians, archaeologists, and other scientists are continually at work here, as there's a lot to learn and discover about the Valley of the Kings. The Temple of Hatshepsut is dedicated to ancient Egypt's only woman pharaoh. To symbolize her power, she is often depicted with the royal false beard. It is said that her temple was vandalized by her successor, who just also happened to be her stepson. So what we see now is a restored approximation of what the temple may have looked like. Here's some of the amazing hieroglyphics from this temple. That afternoon we visited Karnak Temple, and it's one of the largest temples, and it's still being excavated. The sphinxes here have ram's heads, and it's said that the Avenue of the Sphinxes were to connect Luxor Temple to Karnak Temple. There's even a sacred lake on site. This statue of a scarab, which we'd probably just call a beetle, has an Egyptian legend tied to it. Supposedly, if you walk around the statue once, you'll have happiness. If you walk around it 3 times, you'll find love. And if you walk around it 7 times, it'll bring you prosperity. Here's some more of Karnak Temple. Early the next morning, we debarked and flew to Sharm el-Sheikh, which is a beautiful resort area on the Red Sea. Here we took advantage of a glass-bottom boat, which brought us out on the Red Sea to see the coral and the tropical fish, but more importantly, we finally got some R&R time on the beach. Here's our hotel, although we didn't spend a lot of time here. One of the days we were here, we went out into the desert to have a Bedouin experience. We rode camels and had a Bedouin feast, including music and campfires. It was a fun night. The next night we left at midnight to go by bus further into the mountains. Our goal was to climb Mount Sinai, or Mount Moses, and watch the sunrise. It was a long, steep, and grueling hike, but the view from the top was well worth it. After our accomplishment, we joked that we could now cross Climb Mountain off our bucket list. Our final excursion was to the city of Alexandria. Alexandria is known for its modern library, which is beautiful both on the outside as well as on the inside. Part of the exterior wall has letters, pictograms, hieroglyphs, and symbols from every known alphabet as a tribute to the wealth of learning that can take place. This has to be one of my favorite pictures that I took from my trip, and it's a bunch of girls that followed me around the library, and once we got outside kind of approached me, and so I asked if I could take their picture, and they just loved that, and I just love this picture. This fortress, which is the foundation of an old lighthouse, sits on the harbor of the Mediterranean Sea. Our hotel actually overlooked the sea and had a great view of the skyline, especially at night. However, we were by the sea, and since we had been on the go sightseeing from day one, what we really wanted to do in Alexandria was just stop and play. So what can I say about my trip to Egypt? I went a lot of places, I met a lot of people, I learned a lot of history, I had some great experiences, I even got to go geocaching. And it certainly was a trip of a lifetime.